Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this large granny square here. It measures about 13 inches across, but I'll let you look at it here real quick. It's got some little bit of everything: V-stitches, bobble stitches, cluster stitches, puff stitches, just a little bit of everything. So I'm going to set my camera down here and I'll move this out of the way. What I'm using for this project, I don't have the tag, but this is Lion brand mandala yarn. It's a lightweight number 3, and a lightweight number 3, it doesn't have to be this brand, but that is what I recommend for this square. And yes, this square came out of this same skein. The color I'm using is called Sphinx, and you'll probably get about probably 4, maybe 5 squares out of one skein. Probably 4, and then you'll probably have some yarn left. But then I'm using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. Okay, you can you want to start off with the slip knot on your hook, and then we're going to work a chain of 4. Excuse me if I'm sniffling. I got allergies real bad today. Okay, now we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. And now we're going to chain 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. And now we're going to work 11 more double crochets through the ring. So counting that chain 3, we'll have a total of 12 double crochets. Okay, when you make it back around and you have 12 double crochets, counting that chain 3, you want to end round 1 by slip stitching into the top of your beginning chain 3, like that. And now you can pull your tail, close up that center circle a little bit. Okay, now we're going to chain 3, which is going to count as our first double crochet. And now we're going to go right back into that same spot right there and double crochet. So that's like we just did 2 double crochets in the same stitch, because that chain 3 counts as a double. So now we're going to work 1 double crochet, or 2 double crochets in every single stitch all the way around. So 2 into the next stitch, 2 into the next, and then 2 into the next, all the way back around. And when you get back around, you should have a total of 24 double crochets at the end of round 2. Okay, when you make it back around and you have your 24 stitches, we're going to end round 2 by slip stitching into the top of the beginning chain 3, just like that. Round 3, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that chain 4 counts as a double crochet with a chain 1. So now I'm going to put 1 double crochet into the very next stitch and chain 1, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1, 1 double into the next stitch, chain 1, and I'm going to repeat this all the way around. 1 double into the next stitch, chain 1, 1 double into the next, and chain 1, all the way until you get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 3, and what you want to do, make sure you chain 1 after that last double crochet, is put a slip stitch in the 3rd chain of the beginning chain 4, and that will end round 3, and you should have 24 double crochets and 24 chain 1 spaces. So now we're going to start round 4 by slip stitching 1 time to the first chain space, and then we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to work a puff stitch through this chain space. So this is how we're going to do our puff. We're going to yarn over, go into the space, and draw up a loop. And we want to do that for 4 times total. So that was our first one. yarn over, go in, drop a loop, that's 2, yarn over, go in, drop a loop, that's 3, yarn over, go in, drop a loop, that's 4, and you should have 1, 2, 9 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 9 loops, and chain 2. Now we're going to jump to the next chain space and do another puff. So we're going to yarn over, go in, drop a loop, and you want to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all 9 loops, and chain 2. And I'm just going to repeat this all the way around. So I'm going to jump to my next chain 1 space and do a puff. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all 9, chain 2. Jump right here to my next chain 1 space and do it again. Nine loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all 9, and chain 2. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way back around to the beginning. Okay, I've made it back around to the end of round 4, and you want to make sure you chain 2 after your last puff there, and then we're going to end round 4 by slip stitching into the top of this first puff. So it's kind of right about there. And now you should have 24 puffs and 24 chain 2 spaces. Now we're going to start round 5 by slip stitching 1 time over here to this first chain 2 space. And then we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to work double crochet clusters. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, go into the space, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. We want to do that 4 times total. So that was number 1. Again, yarn over, go in, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. That's 2. Yarn over, go in, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. That's 3 times. One more time. Go through the first 2. So that's 4 times. You'll have 5 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 5 loops and chain 2. And now we're going to do this in every single one of these chain 2 spaces. The double crochet cluster. So we're going to yarn over and jump over and go into the next stitch here, or the next chain space. Drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. We want to do that 4 times. So that was 1. Go through the first 2. 2. Go through the first 2. That's 3. Through the first 2, that's 4. 5 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 5, and chain 2. So that's how you do the double crochet cluster. We'll jump to the next chain space and do it again. Like that. 5 loops are left over, go through all 5, chain 2, and repeat. So I'm going to do this in every chain space, a double crochet cluster and a chain 2 all the way back around to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 5, and I did my last cluster and I chained 2. Now we're going to end by slip stitching right here into the top of this first cluster, so right about here. Didn't really have to be exact, but kind of right about there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work a row of bobble stitches, so you can see them right here. Now in order for them to puff out like that, you actually have to work them on the opposite side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain one and we're going to turn our work. Now this is the only round that will be working on the opposite side. So we're going to work a bobble right here in this first chain space. Now I'll show you how we're going to work a bobble, and it's pretty similar to the cluster. So what we do is we yarn over, we're going to go into the space, drop a loop, and yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. And we're going to do that 5 times total. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll have 6 loops left on your hook. You want to yarn over and go through all 6 loops. And now we're going to pull tight, and we're going to come right over here to this next cluster right there in this stitch and put 2 single crochets right there in that spot. And that's going to make by single crochet, and that's going to make that bobble poof out. So when you flip it around, you can see it kind of sticking out there. So again, in this chain space, we'll work a bobble. So we're going to yarn over, go into the space, drop a loop, yarn over to the first 2. We're going to do that 5 times. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 6, pull it tight on your hook. Then this cluster right here, pull up this chain here, and you'll see right there, go through that and put 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. Again, right here in this chain space, we'll work another bobble. Yarn over, go through all 6 loops, pull it tight, jump over here to this cluster, pull up on the chain and go right through that space and do 2 single crochets. So we're going to repeat this all the way around, and if you flip it over, you can see now that they're starting to bobble up. So again, I'm going to jump right here to this next chain space, work a bobble. Yarn over, go through all 6 loops on your hook, pull it tight, jump over here to this cluster, 2 single crochets right there into the top of it. So there's 1 and 2. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, when you make it back around, I just did my last bobble in this last chain space. Now we're going to put our last 2 single crochets right here where we slip stitch from the previous round. So the top of this cluster, put 2 single crochets in it, and then we're going to end by slip stitching into the top of this bobble, so right here on the side like that. And now we should have 24 bobbles and 48 single crochets at the end of this round 6. Now we're going to start round 7 by chain of 3, and we're going to turn our work back around. Now we're not going to be turning our work anymore. That was the only time to get these bobbles bobbling on the front, and it looks a little funky now because the bobbles are probably all curled under, but we'll fix that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 double crochet right back into the same stitch, the top of that same bobble. So counting that chain 3, we got 2 double crochets into that stitch. Now we're going to put 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 single crochets. So 1 into the next single crochet, and 1 double into the next single crochet. And now we're going to put 2 double crochets into the top of the next bobble. And if you take it and you can see, pull right on the top of it. It's that top stitch right there. So you go right into the top of it and put 2 double crochets. And now it's 1 double crochet in each of these next 2 single crochets. So 1 double, 1 double, and then 2 double crochets into the top of the next bobble. And if you pull it apart, you'll be able to see it right on top. Go right there on top of it and work 2 double crochets. So we're just going to repeat this all the way around. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 single crochets. 1 and 1, and then 2 double crochets into the top of the next bobble. One double crochet in each of these next 2 single crochets, and then 2 double crochets into the top of the next bobble. And we're going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total at the end of round 7, 96 stitches, and that includes this beginning chain 3. I've made it all the way around, and I ended where I had 1 double crochet in the next 2 single crochets, and I'm back to my chain 3 where at the beginning there where we put 2 doubles there. Just want to slip stitch into the top of that beginning chain 3, and that'll end round 7, and you should have 96 stitches. Now you can see that your bobbles are popped back out. They're not curled under anymore. Now we're going to start round 8, and we're going to chain 4, and this is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 1, and then we're going to go right back into that same stitch right there and put another double crochet. So now we're going to be working V stitches. So we're going to skip 1 stitch and V stitch into the next. So we're going to put a double crochet, a chain 1, and another double crochet into that same stitch. Then we're going to skip 1 stitch and V stitch into the next. So we're going to double, chain 1, and double. Skip 1 stitch, V stitch into the next, double, chain 1, and double. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around. Skip 1 and V stitch into the next, skip 1 and V stitch into the next, and I'm going to repeat this at the beginning, and when I get back to the beginning I should have a total of 48 V stitches at the end of round 8. Okay, once you make it to the end, you should have 1 chain left there to skip. And now we're going to end by slip stitching into the 3rd chain of our beginning chain 4. And you should have 48 V stitches at the end of round 8. Now what we're going to do is start squaring it off slowly, 1 round at a time. So we are going to slip stitch 1 time to this first chain space, like that, and now we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to work a puff into this chain space, a puff. So that's where we yarn over, go in, drop a loop 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 loops, yarn over, go through all the loops. Now we're going to kind of pull it tight. Now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to slide it over, and we're going to go into that same spot, and we're going to do it again. So I'm going to yarn over, go in, and do my puff. Nine loops, yarn over, go through all 9, pull it kind of tight, and chain 4. And we're going to do that one more time in the same V-stitch. So we'll have 3 puffs in that V-stitch. And that's going to form one of our corners. Pull it tight, chain 4, like that. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet. We're going to skip 1 V-stitch, and we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next V-stitch. So skip this one and single crochet into the next, like that. Okay, so now we're going to chain 4. Now we single crocheted there and chain 4, and we want to repeat the single crochet chain 4 8 more times for 9 times total. So we'll just count 9 times total actually. So we're just going to count this single crochet as the 1. Chain 4, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, that'll be 2 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, that'll be 4 times. I'm sorry, 3 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, that'll be 4 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, that'll be 5 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, that'll be 6 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, 7 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4, 8 times. Single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 4. So that was 9 times, and I'm going to count just to make sure that we have 9 single crochets through there. So we skipped this V-stitch, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with a chain 4. And now we're going to skip the next V-stitch, and we're going to do these puffs, these 3 puffs again into the next V-stitch. So skip this V-stitch and puff into the next. So with this chain 4 still on your hook, we're going to yarn over, skip that V, and puff into this one. Go through all the loops, pull it kind of tight, and chain 4. And we're going to repeat that again in the same spot until we have 3 puffs. So puff again into the same spot. Hold it kind of tight, chain 4. One more time into the same spot, another puff. Pull it kind of tight, chain 4. So there is another corner, start of another corner there formed. Now we're going to skip 1 V-stitch, single crochet into the next. So I skipped 1, single crochet to the next, chain 4, and we want to do that 9 times total. So that was 1, go to the next one, V-stitch, single crochet, chain 4, 2, go to the next V-stitch, single crochet, chain 4, 3, go to the next V-stitch, single crochet, chain 4, it's 4 times. The next one, single, chain 4, that's 5 times. The next single, or next V-stitch, single crochet, chain 4, that's 6 times. Next V-stitch, single, chain 4, 7 times. And next V-stitch, single, chain 4, it's 8 times, and the next one is 9 and chain 4. Now I always go back to count and make sure that I have my 9 single crochets. So I skipped this one, and here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the chain 4. And I'm going to skip this V-stitch and do my puff corner into this one. So I'm going to yarn over and do my puff. Pull it kind of tight, chain 4, and I'm going to do that 2 more times into this same stitch to form my next corner. Now I'm just going to kind of repeat what we've been doing all the way around. And when you get back around, you should have 4 of these little puff corners formed. One more time. Chain 4. Skip that V-stitch, single crochet into the next, chain 4, and you need to do that 9 times across, and then you'll do your next corner. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. Okay, I made it to the end, and I just did my 9 single crochet, and I'm going to chain 4 after it, and I should have 1 V-stitch left to skip, and I do, so skip that one, and then end round 9 by slip stitching into the kind of like the side right here of this puff. So, or the top would be fine too, either one. It's not really gonna make too much of a difference. Like that, and that'll end around 9. And now that's what it kind of looks like. It looks a little wavy and everything, and that's fine. But you should have 4 of these corner spaces now. Okay. Now we're going to slip stitch over to this first chain 4 space, 1 time slip stitch, and chain 1. Now we're going to work our double crochet cluster right here. So we're going to yarn over, go in, draw up a loop, go through the first 2 loops, and you want to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 5 loops, and then we're going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to put a triple crochet cluster right here into the top right here of that puff stitch right there. So how we do a triple is pretty much the same as a double, but you're just doing it with triple crochet. So we're going to yarn over twice like we're going to do a triple. We're going to go right into the top of that puff, not the chain space, but the top of the puff, like that, and draw up a loop. Now we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then we're going to yarn over and go through the next 2 loops, and we want to repeat that 4 times. So that was 1, or we want to do it 4 times total. So that was 1. So yarn over twice, go into the same spot, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, so that's 2 times, yarn over twice, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, so it's 3 times, 1 more time, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, you'll have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through all 5, pull it kind of tight, chain 3. So that's the triple crochet cluster. So you can see how it's kind of like the double, except for you're just using the triple instead. Now I'm going to put a double crochet cluster into the next chain space. So I'm going to yarn over and go right in and do my double crochet cluster. Five loops, yarn over, go through all 5, and chain 3. Now what I'm going to do is single crochet into this next chain space, and chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space and chain 3, and I'm going to repeat that until I get over here to my next corner. So single crochet into my next chain space, chain 3, sorry about that, being off camera. Single crochet right here into this chain space here before the puffs, chain 3. Now when you count back, you should have 10 single crochets this time. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I do. Make sure you chain 3 after your last one. And now we're right here into the corner, so we're going to put a double crochet cluster into the first chain space. Yarn over, go through all the loops, chain 3. Now we're going to do a triple crochet cluster into the top of this puff stitch. So now we're going to yarn over twice and go right into the top of the puff, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the next 2 loops, and we want to do that 4 times total. So that was 1, yarn over twice, go into the same spot, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, that's 2 times, yarn over, go through the first 2, next 2, that's 3 times, yarn over, go through the first 2 and the next 2, so that was 4 times. Now you got 5 loops, yarn over, go through all 5, kind of pull it tight, chain 3, and then we're going to do a double crochet cluster into the next chain space. Chain 3 and single crochet into the next chain space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space, and we're going to repeat the single crochet chain 3 until you get to the next corner, and then we'll do our clusters here into the next corner, and it's going to repeat what we've been doing until we get back over here to the beginning. Okay, I've made it all the way around, and I did my last single crochet here. I'm back to the beginning. I want to make sure I chain 4 after, or chain 3 after that one, I'm sorry. And then we're going to end with the slip stitch into the top of my first cluster. So right about here. Like that. Now end around 10, and we still got 4 corners going on. Okay, now what we're going to do is slip stitch 1 time to this first chain space, and we're going to chain 4, which counts as a triple crochet. And now we're going to put 2 more triple crochets into that same chain space, triple crochets. So there's 1 and 2. So counting that chain 3, we have 3 triple crochets there. Now working into the top of this triple crochet, or this cluster right here, this triple crochet cluster, that stitch right there, we're going to work 2 triple crochets, and then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go back in and work 2 more triple crochets. So that's forming our corner still. Just like that. Now we're going to work 3 triple crochets into the next chain space, just like that. Now we're going to start working across these chain spaces here. So we're going to work 3 double crochets in the first and the next 2 chain spaces. So 3 in each of the next 2. So it's 3 double crochets in that one, and now 3 doubles into the next one. Now we're going to work 3 half double crochets in each of the next 2 chain spaces. So 3 half doubles. So there's 3 half doubles in that one. Go to the next one and work 3 half doubles. And now we're going to work 3 single crochets in each of the next 3 chain spaces. So these 3 chain spaces each get 3 single crochets. So there's 3 in that one. Jump to the next one. 3 in that one. Jump to the next one. And 3 in that one. Now we're going to put 3 half doubles in each of the next 2 chain spaces. 3 half doubles. So that's 1, 2, 3 in that one. Jump to the next space and work 3 half doubles. And then 2 double crochets, or I keep saying 2, I'm sorry, 3 double crochets in each of these next 2 chain spaces. Three doubles into the next. Just like that. And now we're just going to kind of repeat that. So we're back over here at the corner. So what we're going to do is put 3 triple crochets into this next chain space here. Triple crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to form the corner. So working into the top of this cluster. And we're going to put 2 triples, chain of 2, and 2 more triples. We're all in that same space. And now 3 triple crochets into the next chain space. Sorry for this dark yarn, I didn't realize it was going to get this dark. Now we're going to put 3 double crochets in each of the next 2 chain spaces. Three in that one. Three in that one. 3 half doubles in each of these next 2 chain spaces. So 3 half doubles there, jump to the next one, 3 half doubles here. And now 3 single crochets in these next 3 chain spaces. So 3 there. Three there. And then 3 singles here. And now it's 3 half doubles into the next 2 chain spaces. Three half doubles into so 3 half doubles into this one and 3 half doubles into the next one. and then it's 3 doubles into these next 2 chain spaces here. And now we're just going to repeat. We're at our corner again, so it's 3 triples here, and then we do our 2 triples, chain 2, 2 triples, 3 triples here, and then we just repeat it all the way around back to the beginning. And you can see it's starting to get a little bit square. Okay, once you make it back around, you want to end with a slip stitch into your top of your beginning chain 4. And now you should have a total of 172 stitches all the way around in 4 of these chain 2 spaces. So now we're going to go around again. This will be a little bit easier. We're going to chain 3, and that's going to count as a double crochet. And now we're going to double crochet in every stitch until we get to the corner. So 1 double crochet, okay. Now when we're at the corner, our corners are all going to be made the same. It's going to be 2 triples right through the chain space, chain 2, and 2 more triples. And that is how all 4 corners are going to be formed. 2 triples, chain 2, 2 triples. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch across until we get to our next corner. And remember to get this very first one. Sometimes he hides underneath these stitches here, but so 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to your next corner. And then when you get to your next corner, you just put 2 triple crochets, chain 2, 2 triple crochets into the chain space. And then you continue working 1 double crochet in every stitch, and you just want to repeat this all the way back around until you get to the beginning. So this round's pretty easy. It's pretty easy now from here on out. It's just smooth sailing now. So okay, I've come to the end of round 12. And you should have 188 stitches now, plus your 4 chain 2 spaces. And I'm going to end with a slip stitch in my beginning chain 3. Now I'm going to go around one more time with the row of single crochet. You don't have to do that, but I think it straightens up the edges a lot. With this granny having these chain spaces, you got to kind of give it some stretches to get it to lay right. But because these kind of get tangled up a little bit, you got to get the single crochet. It's got to be in the centers for it to lay right. So, but I'll show you that in a minute. So for round 13, I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go back in the same stitch and single crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around my whole piece, except for when I get to the corners. I'll show you what I'm going to do there. When I get to my corners, I'm going to do 2 single crochets, a chain 2, and 2 single crochets. So I'm going to go in and put 1, 2, chain 2, I'm going to slide them over, and then put 2 more single crochets. And that's how I'm going to work the corners this round. And now I'm going to continue. Make sure you get this first one here, putting 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around until I get to my next corner. And when I get to my next corner, it will be 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochets, all into that chain 2 space. And then you just continue around working 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total of 204 stitches at the end of this round, round 13. Okay, once you make it back around and you have your 204 single crochets plus your chain 2 spaces here, your corners, you want to end with the slip stitch into the first single crochet, not the chain 1 but the first single, and then we can tie that off and hide the tail. Now, like I said, this needs a little bit of a tug at the corners and along here to get all these single crochets in the middle of those chain spaces. So I just go through, give it tugs all the way around to get it all straight. But that's all. That's it. That's all there is to it. Oh, you can make, you know, anything out of this: a bag, a pillow, a beautiful afghan. That'd make a really pretty afghan. A poncho, a shirt, top, anything that you wanted. You can come up with anything. Now, if you're making something for a present, it might be nice to block these squares. By blocking it, you know, it'll make all of them the exact same size, and all the corners and all the rows straight. But you know, you don't have to. I absolutely despise blocking, so I never ever do it unless I'm crocheting like a fillet doily, you know, with somebody's name in it. That would be the only time I usually block anything. But other than that, that is it. You can kind of poof up your bobbles so they kind of get. That's it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoy my tutorial. And until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this granny square here. It's quite a large granny square. It's about 12 inches across, and it's really not hard. It does take a little bit of time to make, but it's not hard at all to make. Okay, for this project I use Lion Brand Mandala yarn. It's actually a lightweight number 3 yarn, and it's 100% acrylic. Now, there's 590 yards in this skein, and I was able to get about 5 of those large grannies out of this skein. I know that won't really seem like a lot for the yardage. I was actually kind of shocked too, but since it's such a thin yarn, you just don't get quite as much out of it. But you don't have to use this yarn. You don't even have to use a lightweight number 3. You can use a regular 4-ply. The granny square is going to look just the same. It's just going to be bigger. So, I mean, that would be the difference. So if you don't want to use a lightweight, I particularly do not like using lightweight. This will be the only time that I probably ever used this. I mean, it's beautiful, but I probably won't ever use it again because I just despise lightweight yarns for some reason. I hate them. But the color I'm using is Warlock. So remember, you can use a 4-ply. It's going to look the same. It's just going to be bigger than 12 inches. I mean, I wouldn't recommend a 5 bulky or anything like that, but a 4-ply will work too. It's just going to be bigger. And then I used a which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook for mine. Okay, you want to start off with a slip knot on your hook, and then we're going to work a chain of 4. And I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. Now if you want to use the magic circle here, that will work too. I'm no good at the magic circle, so I don't ever use it. Okay, now we're going to do a chain of 3, which is going to count as our first double crochet. So we want to work 11 more double crochets through the center of the ring. So counting this chain 3 will have a total of 12. So we'll go right on through and work 11 more double crochets through the ring. Okay, I've done my 11, so counting that chain 3, you should have a total of 12 double crochets now. What you want to do is end round 1 with a slip stitch in the top of your beginning chain 3. Just like that. And that'll end round 1. And you can pull your tail usually and make that center circle close up a bit like that. Okay, for round 2, what we're going to do is chain 3, which is going to count again as our first double crochet. And now I'm going to put one more double crochet right back in that same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and go right through that same spot that I slip stitched into and double crochet. And now I'm going to work 2 double crochets in every stitch all the way around. So I'm going to go over here to my next stitch right here and work 2 double crochets into it. And then 2 double crochets in my next stitch. And 2 double crochets in every single stitch all the way back around to the beginning. And when you get back around, you should have a total of 24 stitches at the end of round 2. Okay, once you make it back around and you have your 24 stitches, again we're going to end round 2 by slip stitching into the top of the beginning chain 3. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to start round 3 by working a chain of 4. Now this chain 4 counts as a double crochet with a chain 1. Now I'm just going to go to the next stitch and double crochet. The very next stitch. And put 1 double crochet into it. And then I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1. Double crochet into the next stitch and chain 1. And I'm going to do that all the way around. 1 double into the next stitch, chain 1, double into the next stitch, chain 1, and I'm going to do that until I get back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total of 24 double crochets and 24 chain 1 spaces at the end of round 3. Okay, I've made it all the way around and I just did my last double crochet. You want to make sure you chain 1 after that one. And now we're going to end by slip stitching into the 3rd stitch of our beginning chain 4, and that ends round 3. Okay, for round 4 we're going to slip stitch 1 time to this first chain space. So go ahead and slip stitch right over there to that. And now we're going to do a round of V-stitches. So I'm going to start off with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet plus a chain 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet right back into that same chain space. And that's going to form our beginning V-stitch. And now what I'm going to do is work a V-stitch in every single chain space all the way around. So I'm going to jump to the next chain space and I'm going to work a double crochet, a chain 1, and another double crochet right through the same chain space. So that's my V-stitch. And I'm going to jump here to the next chain space and I'm going to do it again. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Again, into the next chain space, double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet. So I'm going to work a V-stitch in every single one of these chain 1 spaces until I get back around to the beginning. And when I get back around, I should have a total of 24 V-stitches. Okay, I've made it back around and I have my 24 V-stitches, and I'm going to end round 4 by slip stitching into the 3rd chain of my beginning chain 4. And that will end round 4. So that's what it looks like so far. Now I'm going to do a row of cluster stitches. So what I'm going to do is slip stitch over to my first chain space, or the middle of my first V-stitch. So just slip stitch 1 time there, and chain 1. And this is how we do the cluster. We're going to yarn over, go through the chain space and drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. And we want to do that 4 times total. So that was 1. So yarn over, go through, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. Yarn over, go through, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops again. That's 3 times. One more time. Yarn over, go through, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and you'll have 5 loops remaining. Yarn over and go through all 5 loops on your hook. So that's how we do our cluster stitch. And then we're going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work a cluster stitch plus a chain 3 in every one of these V-stitches. So we're going to go ahead and jump to the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. So I'm going to start by yarning over and go right into the chain space, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. And remember, we want to do that 4 times. So that was 1, that's 2 times, three times, and 4 times. And you can look and see the 4 stitches there, and you'll have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 5 loops, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to repeat it again. So we're going to jump to the chain 1 space of our next V-stitch, start by yarning over, go right into the space and drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. We need to do that 4 times. Again, yarn over, go into the space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the space, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. One more time, yarn over, go into the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, 5 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 5, and then we work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do that in every single one of these chain 1 spaces of the V-stitches. So I'm going to do it again to the next one. Yarn over, go through all 5 loops, and chain 3. So I'm going to continue this working 1 cluster and a chain 3 in every single one of these chain 1 spaces in the middle of the V-stitches until I get back around to the beginning. And you should have a total of 24 clusters and 24 chain 3 spaces at the end of round 5. Okay, I've come to the end of round 5, and I just did my last cluster, so you want to make sure you chain 3 after that last one. And then we're going to end by slip stitching right here into the top of our first cluster. So it's this little space, or this little stitch right here. And that ends round 5. So we're going to start round 6, and we're going to start making our chain spaces. So we're going to slip stitch 1 time, just right over here to this first chain 3 space. And then we're going to chain 1. And we're going to go back into that same chain space and single crochet. Like that. And then I'm going to work a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to jump to my next chain space, and I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jump to my next chain 3 space here, go right through it, and single crochet. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. go to my next chain 3 space and single crochet. So I'm just going to keep repeating that all the way around. Chain 5, go to my next chain 3 space and single crochet. And then when you get all the way around, you should have 24 of these chain 5 spaces when you get to the end of round 6. Okay, I'm coming around here, and I've done 23 chain 5 spaces, and I'm going to show you how we're going to end the last one. So here's where we started right here, and I need to do one more. So instead of chain of 5, I'm going to do a chain of 3. This is how we're going to end round 6, and then I'm going to do a half double into this very first single crochet that we made. So yarn over and go right through it and do a half double crochet into that single crochet. Half doubles, go through all 3 of them like that, and that kind of brings you to the middle of this chain. Now that still counts as a chain 5, even though it was a chain 3 and a half double. So you should have 24 chain spaces now. And now we're going to start again, and we're going to start right here in this chain space that we ended in. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back through it and single crochet. See, by doing it, ending it that way, it brought us in the middle of the chain space to start again. So now we're going to do a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to jump to my next chain space and single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jump to my next chain space and single crochet. So we're just repeating the last round, except for we're doing chain 6s instead of chain 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and single crochet into the next chain space. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and I will meet you over here at the beginning, and I'll show you how to end this round, because we're going to end it a little different too. So chain 6, single crochet into the next chain space, chain 6, single crochet, and repeat all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 7, and I just did my last chain 7, and I single crocheted into this chain space, and here is my beginning right here. So I need to do one more chain space to make it 24 chain spaces, because that's how many we need. So how I'm going to end this one is I'm going to do a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to double crochet into this first single crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and go into that first single crochet and do a double crochet like that, and that still is counting as a chain 6, and you should have 24 chain spaces now at the end of round 7. Let's still make sure we are on round 7. Okay, now for round 8, we're going to start again right here in this chain space that we left off in. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back into it and single crochet, and now we'll be right in the middle of that chain space, and that's where we want to be. Now we're going to do a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and single crochet into the next chain space. So it's just like the rounds previous before. We're just doing a chain 7 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, single crochet into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and single crochet into the next chain space. So you want to repeat this all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 8, and here is where I started. Here is the last single crochet I did. Now we're not going to do anything special to end this round. All we're going to do is chain 7, and then slip stitch into that first single crochet there, just like that. And now you should have chain spaces at the end of round 8. Now we're going to start squaring off our circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting like the corner right here in this chain space. So we're going to slip stitch one time over to that first chain space, like that. Now remember these clusters here? We're going to do that up here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start by chaining 1, and then I'm going to work one of those clusters in this chain space. So I'm going to yarn over, go in, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and I need to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll have 5 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and go through all 5. And now we're going to work a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do a larger cluster consisting of triple crochets. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. We're going to yarn over twice, like we're going to do a triple crochet. We're going to be working in the same chain space, and we're going to go in and drop a loop, and we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and then we're going to yarn over and go through the next 2 loops on our hook. And we want to do that a total of 4 times. So that was 1. So again, we're going to yarn over twice, go through the space and drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. So that was 2 times. Again, yarn over twice, go in, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. So that was 3 times. You can see them right there. One more time, yarn over twice, go into the space and drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. And you're still going to have 5 loops left on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 5, and that's how you do a triple crochet cluster. This is actually a double crochet cluster. This one's triple. Now we're going to chain 4, and we're going to put another double crochet cluster right here in the same space again. So we're going to yarn over with that chain 4 on our hook and go through the space, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and we need to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over and go through all 5 loops. Now we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to single crochet into our next chain space, like that. And now we're going to do a chain 5 and single crochet, and we need to do that 4 times across. So chain 5 now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and single crochet. So that was 1 time. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain space. That was 2 times. Chain 5, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain space. That was 3 times. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain space. So you should have 4 chain 5 spaces across. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this right here is the chain 4 space. So we got 4 chain 5 spaces and 1 chain 4 space. Now we're going to form another corner again in this next chain space. And we're going to start by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do a double crochet cluster right here, just like we did over here. So we're just going to yarn over with that chain on our hook, go through the next chain space, and do our cluster, the double crochet cluster. Five loops on our hook, yarn over and go through all 5, and then we chain 4 again. And now we need to do our triple crochet cluster in the same stitch. So with this chain 4 still on our hook, we're going to yarn over twice, go through, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through the next 2. So we need to do that 4 times. That was once, yarn over twice again, yarn over, go through the first 2 and the next 2. That's 2 times. Again, yarn over twice, go in the same space, drop a loop, yarn over once, go through the first 2, yarn over again, go through the next 2. That's 3 times. Again, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2. So that's 4 times. You'll have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through all 5, and that's your triple cluster. Now we're going to chain 4, and we're going to do another double crochet cluster in the same spot again. So with that chain 4 on our hook, we're going to yarn over and do our double crochet cluster. And then we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to single crochet into our next chain space. Now we need to do our chain 5 single crochet 4 times again. So we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into our next chain space. So that was once, chain 5, single crochet into our next chain space. That was twice, single crochet into our next chain space. That's 3 times, single crochet into our next chain space. So that was 4 times. And then what we're going to do is chain 4, and then we'll, in the next chain space, we'll start our clusters, or our corner again. So we'll go ahead and do the double crochet together, chain 4, triple crochet cluster together, chain 4, and do a double crochet cluster in the same spot. Chain 4, single crochet into the next chain space, and then we're just going to repeat doing the chain 5 single crochet 4 times. So this is what it starts to look like. This is what you'll have in between each corner. You'll have 2 chain 4 spaces right here, and then you'll have 4 chain 5 spaces. So here's a chain 4 right before this cluster, chain 4 right before this cluster, and then you got your 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 5 spaces. And over here it's the exact same. Chain 4 before this cluster, chain 4 before this cluster, 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 5 spaces. So you just want to keep repeating that until you get back around to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 9. And I just did my single crochet chain 5 4 times. So 1 2 3 4, and then I single crocheted. Now what I want to do, this is what it should look like at the end. I want to do a chain of 4, and then I want to slip stitch into my first double crochet cluster. So right there on the side of it, just like that. That's how we end that. So it's kind of starting to look a little bit like a wonky square. I guess I'll get it squared up eventually. So what I'm going to do is just do 1 slip stitch right over here to this first chain 4 space. And I am going to do a chain of 4, which is going to count as a triple crochet. And I want to do a total of 4 triple crochets in this chain 4 space, this being our first one. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 more triple crochets. Okay, so counting that chain 4, we got 4 triples in that chain 4 space. Now right here at the top of this triple crochet cluster, in that little stitch right there, that's where we're going to work. We're going to work 2 triple crochets, a chain 2, and 2 triple crochets, and that's going to form the point to one of our 4 corners. So go ahead and yarn over twice and go right through that stitch and do a triple crochet, another triple crochet, so that was 2 triple crochets, chain 2, and 2 more triple crochets all into that same stitch. Just like that. And that formed a point, the first point to our square. Now I'm going to jump right over here to this next chain 4 space, and I'm going to do 4 triple crochets. 1, 2, 3,
4,
and 4. I had a little helper there counting me, if you heard him. And now I'm going to jump over here to this chain 4 space, and I'm going to work 4 double crochets into this chain 4 space. 4 doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm at the chain 5 spaces. So I'm going to work 5 double crochets into this first chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to work 5 half double crochets into the next 2 chain 5 spaces. Half double crochets. So I'm going to go through it and work 5 half doubles in the first one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then in the next one, 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in the next chain 5 space, I'm going to work 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this next space right here is a chain 4 space, and we're going to work 4 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to kind of repeat what we just did. So I'm going to jump right here into this next chain space, and I'm going to work 4 triple crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we got this triple crochet cluster, and right here in the top of it, pull it apart, you can see that stitch. That's where we're going to work our corner. We're going to put 2 triples, a chain 2, and 2 triples in that stitch. So right in through it, there's 1 triple, 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 more triples. And that formed our second point of our square. So it's kind of starting to get a little bit more squared off as we go. Okay, 4 triple crochets into this next chain 4 space. And there's 4. I'm sorry about that cat walking across the desk. I didn't mean for him to be a oh, his tail. I'm sorry. Steven, get over here. I'm sorry. Okay, just like that. And this next spot right here is the chain 4 space. So we're going to go ahead and do 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're at our chain 5 spaces again. So it's 5 double crochets into the first chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's 5 half doubles in each of the next chain 2 spaces. Half doubles. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 half doubles into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 doubles into the next chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're at our chain 4 space, so we put 4 doubles into that chain 4 space. And now we're just going to repeat. So if you look at it, what we have is we have our corners, and then 4 triple crochets after the corner, 4 double crochets after the corner, 5 double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 double crochets, 4 double crochets, and then 4 triple crochets, and then we do our corner again, 2 triple, chain 2, 2 triple, and then we just repeat that again. 4 triple crochets, 4 double crochets, 5 double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 half double crochets, 5 double crochets, and then 4 double crochets, and then we start our next corner. So I'm just going to repeat that all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it to the end of round 10, I just did 4 double crochets in this chain space, and I'm going to end round 10 by slip stitching into the top of my beginning chain 4, And now you should have a total of 160 stitches plus 4 chain 2 spaces. So it's kind of starting to look like a square. You do got to give it a little bit of a stretch to straighten these chains out. These chain spaces get a little bit matted up, but I'll do that more at the end. So we got one more round, and it's pretty easy. So we're just going to start off with a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Now I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch until I get to my first chain 2 space. Okay, when I get to my chain 2 space, every chain 2 space is going to be the work the same. It's going to be 2 triple crochets through the chain 2 space, triples, a chain of 2, and then 2 more triples in the same space. And that forms our corner. Just like that. Now I'm going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every single stitch across until I get to my next corner. Now it's important that you get this very first stitch. Sometimes you have to pull this back to get it, because sometimes it hides underneath these triple crochets, but make sure you get that or your stitches aren't going to end up right. But that double crochet right there in that first stitch, and double crochet in every stitch until you get to your next chain 2 space. No more half doubles or anything. We're just doing straight double crochets all the way across. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space, so I'm going to go into the space and work 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 more triples, all into that same chain 2 space. And again, I'm just going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way down till I get to my next corner, and I'm just going to keep repeating this until I get to the end. And remember that not to forget this first stitch, because sometimes he gets hidden and we don't want that. Double crochet in him, and then double crochet and all the rest until we get to our next corner, and then we just do our corner, 2 triple, chain 2, 2 triple, and then we just repeat until we get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it to the end. I just did my last double crochet, and I want to end around 11 by slip stitching into the top of my beginning chain 3, and then I can tie this off. Now you should have a total of 176 stitches, 176 at the end of round 11. Now what I always do is I kind of just straighten it up. I pull the corners and pull these, get them all straightened up. They look a little bit more square. These chains, they really need to be kind of pulled, or they get the single crochets right in the middle of them, or they tend to get all wadded up looking. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's good to kind of get them spread apart a little bit. But I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget. But otherwise, until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this granny square right here. It's about 10 inches, maybe 10.5 inches across. So it's a bit of a larger granny square. You can use it for whatever you want, you know, sew it together, make a big blanket out of it, you know, whatever you want to use, whatever you use granny squares for. I think it turned out pretty good. It's pretty easy, as long as you can do the back post double crochet. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That way you never miss any of my tutorials or any of my giveaways or anything like that. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, for this project, I used Red Heart Super Saver Stripes, which is a 4-weight 100% acrylic yarn. Now you don't have to use this yarn. You can use any type of four weight yarn that you have. But the color that I use is called Flamingo Stripes. You could probably get like 2 squares out of a skein of this, and there's 236 yards per skein. So, and then you're going to need a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, you want to start out with a slip knot on your hook, and then we're going to start with a chain of 4. Now we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring, and you can use the magic circle here if you'd like. I'm really no good at it, that's why I never use it. Just like that. Now we're going to work a chain of 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now that chain of 3 counts as a double crochet, and it's going to count as a double crochet here and for the rest of the pattern. So what we want is we want to have a total of 16 double crochets around. So counting this one, we're going to need to put another 15 double crochets through the center of the ring. So we're going to yarn over and go through the center and work 15 double crochets to go along with that chain 3. That way we'll have a total of 16. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 1, and I have 16 double crochets, and that's including that chain 3. So we're going to go ahead and end round 1 by slip stitching into the top of our beginning chain 3, just like that, and you'll have 16 stitches now. Now you can close that center up a little bit by pulling your tail, and then at the end you can sew it together the rest of the way if you need to. Okay, for round 2 we're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. Now we're going to square this circle off. So we're going to work our first corner right here in this stitch. So in this very same stitch right here that you just slip stitched into, go ahead and work another double crochet. So counting that chain 3, we got 2 double crochets there. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 2 more doubles into that same stitch. Just like that. So that is our first corner of our square. Now we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. Now you got to remember right here, pull this back because there's a stitch right here. You got to make sure you go into that one, because if you look, sometimes it gets hidden and you can't see it, but you got to make sure you get that very first stitch. So go ahead and double crochet right there into that very first stitch. So you want 3 double crochets in a row. That's 1 double crochet, and the next is 2, and the next is 3. Now we're going to go ahead and put another corner. So in the next stitch we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. So now we got 2 corners to our square. So now we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to put a corner into the next stitch. So the next stitch is going to get 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. Again, 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then a corner into the next, so 2 double crochet, chain of 2 and 2 more doubles all into that same stitch. And you should have 3 stitches that remain. Go ahead and put 1 double crochet into the last 3 stitches. And we're going to end round 2 by slip stitching into the top of our beginning chain 3. And you should have a total of 28 stitches now at the end of round 2. Now for round 3, we're going to slip stitch 2 times to get to this chain 2 space. So we're going to slip stitch into the next double crochet, and then slip stitch again into the chain 2 space. And we're going to start by chaining 3, which is our double crochet, and we're going to go ahead and work a corner right here into this chain 2 space. So that's 1 double, so we need 1 more double, a chain of 2, and then 2 more doubles all into that chain 2 space. Now we're going to be working back post double crochets. We're going to put 1 back post double crochet in every stitch across until we get to our next corner or our next chain 2 space. So the back post double, we just yarn over, and we're going to work around the post of the next stitch. We go from behind it like that, and then back around. So we're around the post, but the post is on the back side of our crochet hook. And then we go ahead and do our double crochet, just like that. And that's a back post double. Again, we yarn over, go behind the next stitch, go from behind the next stitch, and then put the post on the back of your hook, just like that, and double crochet. And we're going to do that in every stitch till we get to our chain 2 space. Back post double crochet, okay, I've made it to my chain 2 space. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the corner. So I'm going to put 2 double crochets, just 2 regular double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more regular double crochets all into that chain 2 space. And now I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. So I'm going to put a back post double crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space. And then when I get to my next chain 2 space, I'll put 2 double, chain 2, and 2 doubles, and then I'll just keep repeating this until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 3, and you should have a total of 44 stitches now. And we're going to go ahead and end it by slip stitching into the top of our beginning chain 3. Now round 4, we're just going to repeat what we did for round 3. So we're going to slip stitch 2 times to get to our first chain space, chain 3, go back into the chain space and work our corner. So there's 1 double, do another double, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets, like that. And now it's a back post double crochet again in every stitch all the way across until you get to your next chain 2 space, Alright, I made it to my chain 2 space. Go ahead and work your corner. 2 regular double crochets, chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets. Now we're just going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to the beginning, the same way we did on the previous row, previous round. Okay, I have made it to the end of round 4, and you should have a total of 60 stitches now. So you just want to go ahead and end with a slip stitch into your beginning chain 3. Round 5, we're going to repeat the same thing again. So we're going to slip stitch 2 times to our first chain 2 space, and we're just going to repeat what we just did. Chain 3, another double crochet back in that chain space, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets back into the same space again, just like that. And now it's 1 back post double crochet in every stitch until you get to your corner, and then it's 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, back post double crochet in every stitch till you get your next corner. So we're just repeating what we did the last 2 rounds again. And it's okay if your work's starting to kind of look kind of wonky and flipped up. It will do that, but we'll fix that later. So go ahead and repeat the previous round again for round 5 until you get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 5, and now you should have a total of 76 stitches. Again, we're going to end with the slip stitch into our beginning chain 3, and now we're going to repeat that one last time. So we repeated it. We're going to have repeated it a total of 4 times. So round 6 is just a repeat of rows 3, 4, and 5, the same thing that we've been doing. So slip stitch 2 times to your first chain 2 space, chain 3, go back in and double crochet, chain 2, 2 more double crochet in the same chain space, and now it's just 1 back post double crochet in every stitch till you get to your chain 2 space. Then you work your 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and repeat that back post double crochet all the way back around to get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 6, and now you should have a total of 92 stitches. And remember, it's okay if your work's flipping under like that. So we're going to end round 6 by slip stitching into our beginning chain 3. And we're going to start round 7 by slip stitching 2 times to our first chain 2 space. And we're going to chain 3, and we're going to go ahead and make our corner like we always do. So we're going to go back into the same chain space and work another double crochet. So counting that chain 3, we have 2 double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. Now we're going to work some shells. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and in the next one we're going to work a shell. And a shell is 5 double crochets in the same stitch. So skip 2, skip, skip, and in the next one we work 5 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches again, skip, skip, and the next one we're going to single crochet, and that's kind of what we're going to repeat. So we're going to skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and shell into the next. So skip 2 and 5 double crochets into the next. Skip 2 again, skip, skip, and single into the next, and repeat that again. Skip 2, skip, skip, shell into the next, skip 2, skip, skip, single into the next, skip 2, skip, skip, shell into the next, and you should have 2 more stitches left. Skip them, and then we go ahead and put our corner in our chain 2 space. Just go skip those last 2 stitches, and in the chain 2 space we will work 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 more doubles, just like that. And that's our shell row, and we're going to kind of repeat that again. So we start off by skipping the first 2 stitches, so skip, skip, and then shell into the next, skip 2 stitches, single into the next, skip 2 stitches, and shell into the next, skip 2 and single, skip 2 and shell, skip 2, single, skip 2, shell, you'll have 2 stitches there left, skip them, and in the corner we go ahead and do, or in the chain 2 space, we go and do our corner. So it's 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. And we're going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to our starting point. And you can see now our rows that were curved under are kind of starting to lay a little flat now that we get the shell row. So we'll go ahead and repeat that all the way back to the beginning. Okay, I've come to the end of round 7, and you should have 16 shells now, all the way around. And you want to go ahead and once you do your last shell, you'll have these 2 stitches here. Just skip them and in with a slip stitch into your first, or the top of your beginning chain 3, just like that. Now we'll start round 8 by slip stitching 2 times to our first chain 2 space, and we'll chain 3, and we'll go ahead and work our corner right there into that spot. So we got this chain 3 as our first double. Go ahead and work another double, a chain of 2, and another double. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1, and we're going to double crochet into the next. So chain 1, skip, and then double. And we're going to chain 1, skip 1, double into the next. Then we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and double into the next. Chain 1, skip one, double into the next, chain one, skip one, double into the next. And we're going to do this all the way to the end till we get to our chain 2 space. Okay, I did my chain 1, skip 1, double crochet until I made it to my next chain 2 space. I have one here left, so I want to chain 1, skip that one, and do my 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets in the same chain space, just like that. Now I'm just going to keep it repeating that, so I'm going to chain 1 again, skip 1, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1, double into the next, chain 1, skip 1, double, chain 1, skip 1, double down here, chain 1, skip 1, double. Do this until you get to your next chain 2 space. I made it. I got 1 stitch left. Make sure you chain 1 after that last double crochet, skip this stitch, and go ahead and do your corner into the next chain 2 space, 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. And then we just keep repeating. We start by chaining 1, skipping 1, double crochet into the next, and we're going to do this all the way around until we get back to our starting point. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 8, and I have 3 stitches left, so I chained 1, I'm going to skip 1, double crochet in the next, and we slip stitched here on the previous round, so it's kind of hard to tell where the stitch goes, but just kind of right in the top of that slip stitch. And then you chain 1 and skip this last stitch and in with a slip stitch into the top of your beginning chain 3, and now you'll have 68 stitches at the end of round 8. So for round 9 we're going to slip stitch 2 times to our first chain 2 space, and we're going to go ahead and start by chaining 3, which counts as our double, go back in and do our corner, so another double crochet, a chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet in the top of every double crochet and in every chain 1 space all the way around. So go ahead and put a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then 1 straight through this chain space, and then 1 in the next stitch, 1 right through the chain space, and in the next stitch, and then through the chain space, next stitch, through the chain space, and we're going to do this until we get to our next corner, or our next chain 2 space. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space. And I'm just going to go ahead and do my corner. I'm going to put 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets. And then I'm going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch and in every chain 1 space until I get to my next corner. And make sure you get this first guy right here. Sometimes he kind of hides under the doubles, so pull your corner back and make sure you get him so your square isn't lopsided. So every stitch and through every chain 1 space all the way around. And when you get to your chain 2 spaces or your corners, just go ahead and put your 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and you want to repeat this until you get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 9, and make sure you put a double crochet in these last 2 stitches. It's where we slip stitch from the previous round, so go right into the top of those slip stitches and put a double crochet in each of those. I know it's kind of hard to see it, but it's kind of hard to do it too, but gotta get those 2. Alright, now what you want to do to end round 9 is slip stitch into the top of your beginning chain 3, and now you should have 140 stitches. Now what I'm going to do for round 10 is slip stitch 2 times to my first chain space. Now I'm going to work single crochet all the way around just to clean up the edges on this square. So I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to go back into this chain 2 space, and I'm going to work 2 single crochets, a chain of 2, and then 2 more singles. So it's just like we did for the other corners, except for we're doing singles instead of doubles. Now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch across till I get to my next chain 2 space. And remember to pull these back and get this. You gotta remember to get this very first stitch. Sometimes he hides underneath other stitches, so you want to make sure you get him and work 1 single until you get to your next chain 2 space. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space, so you just go in and you work 2 singles, a chain of 2, and then 2 more single crochets. And then you continue working across, 1 single crochet in every stitch, again making sure you get that first stitch until you get to your next chain 2 space, and then you just work the same, 2 singles, chain 2, 2 singles. And you want to repeat this pattern until you get back to the beginning. And all this is doing is cleaning up the edge of the granny square so it's nice and clean when you start sewing them together. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 10, and you want to end by slip stitching into your first single crochet. Not that chain 1, but the first single crochet. And then you should have a total of 156 stitches now. And you can go ahead and tie off, clip your yarn, and hide that tail. Well, that's it. Once you hide all your tails, it's finished. That's all there is to it. You can use this to sew together and make a blanket or whatever you want to use it for. But I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook. I'll put a link to that below in the description box. And until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this big granny square here. Now it measures almost 14 inches across. I mean, just shy of 14 inches. So that's what it looks like. I got a couple different colors here. Actually came from the same skein mandala. So it's got 2 rows of bobbles there, some shells, chain spaces, It's kind of a time-consuming granny because I think mainly the bobble row is what makes it so time-consuming. But it's actually turned out really nice. Sew these together. I think it would be cool if you made these and sewed them all together and made like a super scarf for winter. I thought that would be neat. There's the other one. So let's go ahead and get started on it. And I'll show you what I used here. Now, I'm going to take a minute to please ask you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you go to the description box, you will find an auto subscribe link. If you click on that, it'll automatically subscribe you, and then you'll never miss any of my tutorials or any of my other giveaways or yarn reviews or whatever else I do. I'd really appreciate it. So for this project, I used the Lion Brand mandala, which is a lightweight number 3. 590 yards in the skein. I made 2 cakes, and this is what I have left out of 1. Now I'm not quite sure this would be enough to do a complete another cake, or another square, I'm sorry, a complete another square, but it would be pretty close. So you could probably get close to 3 of those. If not, I mean, this might be enough, but 2.5 to 3 of these granny squares out of a cake of mandala. And the color that I'm using is called Fairy. Now you don't have to use the mandala yarn. I would though recommend a lightweight 3, as I did not try it in a 4-weight. I cannot tell you if it's going to be, if you use a 4-weight, it might be wavy. It might not be. But if you do want to try that, I will recommend that you use a larger hook than what I use. But like I said, I did not try it with the 4-weight, so I cannot tell you if it'll work or not. And I do know it'll be bigger than 14 inches. But other than that, I would recommend, to get it like mine, a lightweight 3. And then I'm going to be using a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, you want to start off with a slip knot on your hook. And then we're going to work a chain of 4. And then we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, to form a ring. Now if you want to use the magic circle here too, that's fine. And I'm going to chain 1. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And I'm going to work 12 double crochets through the center of the ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now there's 12. Now you want to end round 1 by slip stitching into your first double crochet that you made. And now you'll have 12 double crochets at the end of that round. And if you pull your tail, you'll be able to close up that circle, center circle a little bit like that. Okay, for round 2, we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to work 2 double crochets there right back into that same stitch right there. So go right into that same spot that we slip stitch into and work 2 double crochets. And now I'm going to work 2 double crochets into every stitch all the way around. Just like that. 2 doubles every stitch until you get back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back around, at the end of round 2, you should have 24 stitches now, and you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first double crochet to end that round. Okay, round 3, we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to work a V-stitch into this very first stitch that we slip stitched into. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into it and double crochet, and then we're going to work a chain 1, and then we're going to go back into the same stitch and work another double crochet. So that's our V-stitch. Now we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and V-stitch in the next. So I'm going to skip that one, and into the next one I'm going to do my double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet into the same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, and V-stitch into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and V-stitch into the next. So you want to go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around until you get back to the beginning. Chain 1, skip 1, V-stitch. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 3, and I just did my last V-stitch, and you want to make sure you chain 1 after that. You should have 1 stitch left to skip. And then we're going to end with the slip stitch into our first double crochet, and now you'll have 12 V-stitches to end of round 3. Round 4, we're going to chain 1, and we want to go ahead and put a double crochet right back into that very first stitch, and then we're going to put a double crochet right here into the chain 1 space of the V, and then a double crochet right here into the top of the next double crochet, and then the chain 1 spaces between the V's, we put 2 double crochets right through this space. Just like that. So 1 double crochet into the top of the next double crochet, 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space of the V, 1 double crochet into the top of the next double crochet, and then 2 double crochets in between the chain 1 space of the V's. So we're going to put 2 into there. And now we're just going to repeat that all the way around. Again, 1 double on top of the next double, 1 double in the chain 1 space of the V, 1 double into the next double, and then 2 doubles into the chain 1 space in between the next 2 V's. So right through here, 2 doubles. So you want to go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 4, and your last space here is in between 2 V-stitches, so you want to make sure you put 2 double crochets into that last space, and you should have a total of 60 stitches now at the end of round 4, and go ahead and end with a slip stitch into your first double crochet. Now what we're going to do is bobble stitches. Now in order for us to work the bobbles, you have to work from the back side of your work. So what we're going to do is chain 1 and flip our work around. What we're going to do is we're going to put a bobble into this very first stitch here that we slip stitched into. So I'll show you what you want to do to make the bobble. So we're going to yarn over, go into that very first stitch here that we slip stitched into, and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. Now you want to do that 4 times. So that counts as 1. So yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. So that's 2 times. Again, going in the same stitch, yarn over, go through the first 2. That's 3 times. One more time, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. So we did that 4 times, and now you have 5 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 5 loops on your hook, pull it a little bit tight, and then we go directly into the next stitch and single crochet, just like that. And if you flip it around, you see your bobble is poofed out. So by working on the back side, it makes the bobbles poof out on the front. So that's kind of the repeat we're going to do all the way around for this pattern. We're going to do a bobble into the next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook, and you want to do that 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops that remain, yarn over and go through all 5. I give it a little tug and single crochet directly into the next stitch, and that kind of locks that bobble down, just like that. And you got 2 bobbles worked. Gonna bobble again into the next stitch, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops that remain, yarn over, go through all 5 loops, give it a little tug, and single crochet directly into the next stitch. So I'm going to repeat that all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 5, and I just did my last bobble, and I have 1 stitch left. So I want to go ahead and single crochet into that last stitch to lock that bobble down. And now I want to slip stitch in the row by slip stitching into the top of the very first bobble. So right about here, you can see the bobble top stitch. Doesn't have to be exact, it's kind of right in here on the top of this bobble. And you should have 30 bobbles now at the end of round 5. Now what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work back around to the front. And that's what we got so far. And if it's kind of folding in, that's fine. It does that when you do bobbles, but we'll straighten it out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start off by putting 1 double crochet into the very first stitch, which is this very first bobble here that we slip stitched into. Go ahead and put 1 double crochet right there. And now we're going to put 2 double crochets into this single crochet right here. So go ahead and put 2 double crochets into that next single. And then 1 double crochet into the top of this next bobble, and if you just slightly flip it, you can see the top of it is right here. So just 1 double crochet right there into the top of that bobble, and then 2 double crochets into the next single, one double crochet into the top of the next bobble. So just again, just flip it a bit, 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets into the next single. You can see the singles lay in between the bobble right there. So 2 into the single, and that's kind of the repeat now for this round. 1 double into the top of the next bobble, and then 2 doubles into the next single. One double, top next bobble, two doubles into the next single. So just go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around until you get back to your starting point. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 6, and now you should have 90 stitches. So your last stitch should have been a single crochet with 2 doubles in it, because we started out right over here into this first bobble. So we're just going to end with a slip stitch into this first double crochet, and that'll end round 6. Round 7, we're going to do another row of bobbles, same way we did before. So we're going to chain 1. Remember, we have to work from the back side. So we're going to start out working a bobble in this very first stitch. So we do the bobbles the same way we did before. Five loops remain on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 5, single crochet into the next stitch. So it's the same as we did 2 rows ago. There's just going to be more bobbles this time. Single crochet into the next, and then bobble into the next. And single into the next. So just go ahead and repeat that bobble, single, all the way around until you get back to your starting point. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 7, and I did a bobble. My last stitch should be a single crochet, and then we'll end with the slip stitch on the top of our first bobble, and now you should have 45 bobbles. Now we need to chain 1 and turn our work back around. Now that's the last time that we'll be working from the back side. It's only the front from now on. Okay, now for round 8, what we want to do is we want to put 4 double crochets in a row, and then the next stitch will get 2 double crochets in it. So we'll go ahead and we'll put 1 double crochet right here into this very first stitch that's on top of this very first bobble. So that's 1, and then 1 double crochet into this next single. That's 2, 1 double crochet into the top of the next bobble. That's 3, 1 double crochet into this next single. That's 4. Now the next stitch, which will be on top of this bobble, we'll put 2 double crochets into it. Just like that. And then we'll repeat that. 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So 1 double crochet into the next single here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch, which is the single crochet down here. And that is a pattern we're going to repeat all the way around. 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches. And then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, which is on top of this bobble. So that we're going to repeat that pattern. 1 double crochet in the next 4, and then 2 double crochets in the next, all the way back around to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 8, and my last stitch that I do should have 2 double crochets in it, and now you should have a total of 108 stitches at the end of round 8. Go ahead and end with the slip stitch into your first double crochet. Now that's what it starts to look like. It's okay if it's a bit wavy, we'll get that fixed up like that. So now let's make some shells around it. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to work 2 single crochets back into the same stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches, skip, and we're going to work a shell into the next. A shell is 5 double crochets in the same stitch. So skip your 2, and work your 5 double crochets into the next stitch. Like that. And then we'll skip 2 again, skip, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into the next. So that is kind of the repeat now for round 9. Skip 2, skip, shell into the next. So 5 double crochets into the next. Skip 2 again, skip, and 2 single crochets into the next. Skip 2 and shell. Skip 2 and then 2 single crochets into the next. So you want to go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 9. I did my last shell. I have 2 stitches left, and you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first single crochet to end that round. And now you should have 18 shells at the end of round 9. That's what it's looking like now. Okay, now we're going to do some chain spaces. Okay, what we're going to do is chain 1. Now, these first 2 single crochets, we're going to double crochet them together. So what we're going to do is yarn over, go into that very first single crochet, and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. And then we're going to yarn over and go into the next single crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and you'll have 3 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. So that took those 2 single crochets and made it into 1 double. So now we're going to do a chain of 3, just a loose chain of 3, and we're going to single crochet in the middle stitch of this shell. So single crochet into the top of the middle stitch, and then we're going to chain 3 again. And then these next 2 single crochet down here, we're going to double crochet them together. So we're going to go ahead and yarn over, go into the first one, and draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and go into the next single crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and go through the 3 remaining loops on your hook. And then we'll chain 3 and single crochet into the middle stitch of the next shell. And that is kind of the repeat now that we're going to do all the way around. Chain 3, double crochet these 2 single crochets together. So yarn over, go into the first one, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over again and go into the next single crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through all 3 remaining loops. Then we chain 3 again, and single crochet into the middle stitch of the next shell. Chain 3, double crochet the next 2 single crochets together, chain 3, and single crochet into the middle of the next shell. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around, and that's what it starts to look like until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 10. I did a single crochet in the middle stitch of that last shell. I chained 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into the top of my first double crochet 2 together. Like that. That should end round 10, and now you should have 36 of these chain spaces. So let's go ahead and square this baby off, make it a square. So we're going to go and we're going to slip stitch over here to the first chain space. So let's go ahead and slip stitch 1 time, and we're going to work a chain of 4, which is going to count as a triple crochet. Now we're going to work 2 more triple crochets into the same chain space. So triple, remember we yarn over twice for the triple. Go right in this space and do your triple crochet. Another one. So counting that chain 4, there's 3 triple crochets. Now we're going to work a chain of 2, and we're going to work 3 more triples into the same chain space. Just like that. And now, I'll move my camera here. We got our first corner. That's 1 corner right there. So we're going to go jump to the next chain space, and we're going to work into the chain space. We're going to work 2 triples, and then 2 doubles. Just like that. Now we're going to work 4 double crochets in each of the next 2 chain spaces. So jump to the next chain space and work 4 double crochets in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next one, 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to work 4 half double crochets into the next 2 chain spaces. So jump to the next space and work 4 half doubles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, jump to the next chain space, 4 half doubles, and now we're going to work 4 double crochets into the next 2 chain spaces. So jump to the next one and put 4 double crochets in it. Next chain space, 4 doubles, now the next chain space is going to get 2 double crochets, and then 2 triple crochets, and then the next chain space is going to be our next corner. So we're going to work 3 triple crochets in it, a chain of 2, back into the same space, and work 3 more triples. Just like that. Now we got 2 corners made. It's okay if it looks a little wonky and not square yet. We got a couple more rows to do, a few more rows actually, and we'll get it all nice and square before we're finished. So we're going to kind of repeat what we just did again. So we're going to start off into this next chain space and work 2 triples, and then 2 doubles into the same chain space, just like that. Now 4 double crochets in each of the next 2 chain spaces, so 4 in that one, 4 into the next, 4 half doubles in each of the next 2 chain spaces. So now we're working half doubles. Four in that one, 4 into the next, four doubles in each of the next 2 chain spaces, four in that one, 4 into the next, and then we want to put 2 into the next chain space, 2 doubles, and then 2 triples, and then in the next chain space we will put our next corner, which will be 3 triples, chain 2, and 3 triples, and that is what we're going to repeat all the way around. And remember, it's not going to be square yet, but just keep repeating that pattern until you get back to the beginning. Okay, I'm coming to the end here of round 11, and I got my 1 chain space left, so that gets 2 doubles, and then it gets 2 triples. I keep dropping this yarn. I love Mandela's colors, but I just don't really like working with it. It's hard for me. So it was 2 doubles, 2 triples in that last chain space. Go ahead and end round 11 by slip stitching into the top of your beginning chain 4. And now you should have 152 stitches at the end of that round. So that's what it's starting to look like. It's kind of looking like a square, I guess. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start round 12. Okay, now we're going to start round 12 by chaining 4, which is going to count as our first triple crochet. And now we're going to triple crochet 1 into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 triple crochet into the next, 1 into the next, and now we're going to be at our corner of our square. And what we're going to do now into this chain 2 space is we're going to work 2 triples right into the chain 2 space, and then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to work 2 more triples again into the same space. And that's how we're going to do our corners this round. 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 triples. Now we're going to put 1 triple crochet into these next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3, like that. And now we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to put 1 half double into the next 4 stitches. So we're working half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, now I want to put 1 single crochet over the next 16 stitches. So it'll be over these 4 sets of 4 stitches here. So 1 single into the next 16 stitches. So we'll go ahead. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, and 16. Now it's going to be 1 half double crochet over the next 4 stitches. So 1 half double over the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 double over the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 triple crochet in these last 3 stitches before the corner. So 1 triple in the next 3. 1, 2, and there's 3. And now we're at our corner. So we're going to go ahead and put 2 triple crochets into that chain space. A chain of 2 and 2 more triple crochets. Now that is going to be the repeat for this time around. So 1 triple crochet into the next 3 stitches. One double into the next 4. One half double into the next 4. One single over the next 16 stitches. One half double over the next 4. One double over the next 4. One triple into the last 3. And then we're at our corner where we'll put 2 triples, chain 2, and 2 triples. And that is what we're going to repeat all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Starting to look a little bit more square, but we still got just a couple more rows to go. So go ahead and repeat that until get all the way back around to here. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 12, and I just did my 4 double crochets there, and I'm back here to where I started. I already had the 3 triples for this side, so I'm going to go and end with a slip stitch into the top of my first triple. Now in around 12, and you should have 168 stitches now this time around. Okay, what we're going to do now is chain 1. We're going to go back into the same stitch and do a double crochet. Now I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. Make sure you kind of pull it apart and make sure you get that stitch, because sometimes it kind of stretches when you put that first double crochet in there, but you got to get that one so your square don't get crooked. I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each stitch until I get to my chain 2 space here. Okay, and when I get to my chain 2 space, I'm going to work 2 triples. Chain 2 and 2 triples again. That. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to work 1 double crochet into the next 15 stitches. So double into the next 15. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's 15. Now I'm going to put 1 half double crochet into the next 12 stitches. So half double over the next 12. Okay, there's 12. And now you should have 15 stitches that remain until you get to your chain 2 space. You want to go and put 1 double crochet into the remaining 15. Okay, I did my double in the remaining 15, and now we're going to do our corner by doing 2 triples. Chain 2 and 2 more triples, all into that chain 2 space. And now we're going to repeat again what we just did over here for all the sides. So it's 1 double into the first 15, 1 half double into the next 12, and 1 double into the last 15, and then you do your corner of 2 triples, chain 2 and 2 triples, and you just repeat that pattern till you get back to the beginning. Okay, I made it back over here to where I started, and you just want to end with a slip stitch into your first double crochet, and I'll end around 13, 184 stitches now. So we're on round 14, which is the last round. So what we're going to do is chain 1, and we're kind of just going to go around it in single crochet to kind of get all clean it up and straighten up, make it more of a square. It's pretty squared off, but this is gonna make it look even better. So go right back into that same stitch and single crochet. Now we're gonna work 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get up here to the corner, and I'll show you what we're gonna do in the corner. Now in each of the corners, we're gonna put 2 half double crochets. So there's 1 and 2, and then chain 2, and then work 2 half double crochets again. That's going to be the corners. 2 half doubles, chain 2, and 2 half doubles. And now we're just going to continue, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into every single stitch all the way down until we get to our next corner. And make sure you kind of pull that back and you don't miss this first stitch. So single crochet in every single stitch until you get to your next chain 2 space, or to your next corner. When you get there, it's 2 half doubles, chain 2 and 2 half doubles, and then you continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get back to the beginning, and just working our 2 half doubles, chain 2, 2 half doubles in each of the corners. So this is just basically kind of the cleanup row. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and I'll meet back up with you when I get back around to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back to the beginning, you want to go ahead and end with a slip stitch into your first single crochet that you made. And that'll end around 14, and you should have 200 stitches now all the way around. Now that is it. Now you just kind of want to lay it out and get it all. I kind of pull the corners out. Get it all laid straight, but that's it. That's all there is to it. I think that it turned out pretty nice. If you make this or anything else, I'd really like to see a picture of it. You can post a picture on my Bagoday Crochet Facebook page. I'll put a link to that below in the description box. Also, please don't forget to look in the description box for the auto subscribe button, so you can click on that and subscribe and never miss an update of any of my tutorials. And that's it. That's what they look like. And until next time, have a good day.